Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Pike Homestead. As you can see, winter has arrived in northern Alberta here. So, as of this recording, I mean, it's been a bit of a break for me doing the recording. I know we've had quite a few videos and stuff coming out as we've been kind of catching up on the backlog. And most of that stuff was filmed in September, early October. So here we are now. It is November 5th. We've had a couple of days of snow. I haven't been doing much filming recently because I've been getting busy with a little work, helping our neighbors and stuff with their farms, and learning and making some money to keep things going here. And a whole lot of geese going by. Whole lot of Canadian cobra chickens there. Anyway, so things kind of ground to a standstill here after I fixed the furnace in the barn. It's been working great. Everything's nice and warm in there. We're not too cold yet, but the next couple of days we're going to be dropping down pretty low. This is going to be at some point in the next 3 or 4 days we're going to be hitting, I think it's like minus 25 overnight at Celsius. So, and we've got snow on the ground, so I've probably got 6-7 centimeters right now, maybe a little more in places. And so we got to deal with that. So last year, if you'll recall, we had the, we got a snow blade to put on our little lawn tractor, which is the only machinery we really have on the farm here. But we had a couple problems with it. First of all, it didn't have enough weight and didn't have the right kind of tires for moving on the snow. We were hoping, we gave it a shot, but it would get so far and then it would just slip. So we fixed that problem. We've got some chains for it. And I've got, the blade and everything. I just got to get it mounted back on, get the chains on the tires, and see if that'll help a little bit more. Last year we ended up relying on our neighbors to come over with their tractor to kind of scrape it all up. And this year he wants to get me more time on his tractor to train me so that I can do it myself, which is awesome. It's great. I mean, you can't homestead in in isolation, really. I mean, there's all the talks and dreams about going fully off grid and living off in the wild and stuff like that, but there's still going to be times where you need someone else's help. And you got to work together. Because community is an essential part of living our lives and living this type of life. So, we've been busy getting more and more involved in the community here. They've been, the people we've been kind of getting to know and surrounding ourselves with have been fantastic. Invites for dinner and just acceptance into the community. It's been overwhelming as far as, what they're, the ease of the friendship has been offered. And, just how we, I and me especially have hopped right in to help them out. So they're hopping right in to help us out. And it's all how you work together. And it's really beneficial, and I'd say required to do this sort of thing. I've put in hours working for them, and they've given us back, well, like I said, we've now got hay for the year. We've got hay bales to feed the goats all through winter. And we've got, again, offers to help with, they helped us get the well working for the barn. So we've got running water in there. And, we've helped with, again, scraping up the snow and things like that. And they're going to help us, move around some fence panels and stuff like that so that we can get our chicken run ready for the laying hens next year. These are all things that, go with me going out and helping them, whether it's learning how to drive a combine and help them get their seed crops to feed their cattle through the winter, or helping sort cows and wean calves and things like that, and just throw yourself into it. And but they're also now I'm getting paid to do it too as a farmhand. So and it's just because we've thrown ourselves into the community. So we're making ends meet. We're making our lives here. We're being given and sharing, food and preserves and stuff like that already. It's been just amazing. So, you know, if you're going to come into this type of life, pick an area where you know that there's people who aren't too far away. I mean, their operation is like a 5-minute drive down the road here, and yeah, so they're nice and close, because there's going to be times where you need help, and there's going to be times where, you know, you can give help, and it's great to do both. So anyway, but I digress. I'm going to see if I can get my little tractor going so that we can start pushing some snow around, because I can't, you know, if we need to push or pass somewhere where the tractor's not going to go, or if we're going to, you know, keep things clear on a day-to-day basis, if we're getting a lot of snow, then it's best if we can just do it ourselves, because they need their tractor to go out and feed their cows and everything like that. So can't always rely on it being available, even as they make it available. So got to look out for yourself as much as you can too. Anyway, so I'm gonna get that set up. So I gotta get the mower deck taken off, get the chains put on the tires, and get the blade put on. So I'm gonna get started on that. All right, so the first step you got to do is you got to get your mower deck off. The reason for that is that it puts a little bit too much weight to the forward while you're trying to plow, taking the weight off the back wheels, which are what drive the tractor. You want as much weight as you can on the back so that you maintain your traction and keep moving. So taking this off is a big part of that, because it moves the weight a little bit too far forward. It'd be great to have it at the extra weight, but it's positioned in the wrong spot. So you take off the deck. It's real quick and easy. So first step on that is you got to make sure it's raised all the way up. And then just got my mat here to keep from getting too dirty. And then just a couple of 2x4s to hold it up. And you push it as far down as it'll go, so that the weight is all off the mounting pins. And it's pretty much all just removing cotter pins, washers, and releasing the hook. Now, I like to take the washers and cotter pins and put them back on the pegs, because that way they're right there for next year. I'm not going to save them with this, just because it's too easy for them to go missing. So I just pop it back on there, and it's right where I need it for when I need to reconnect it. Another one here. So this one's a little bit smaller. Washer and the pin back on. And then you do the same on the other side. So here we are on the other side, and you can just see some of the pins here. So right here and right there, those are the two that need to come off from the sides. It's the same on both sides. Just wanted you to get a look at them while they're still attached on the machine. So these are what control the height of the deck when you're mowing, and keep them in line. And then after this, there's one more up the front here that you have to disconnect. So I'll show you that in a minute. Now here we are at the front, and you can see the assembly there. Now if you're doing a quick change where you're either changing or sharpening your blades or tightening things up and just need to quickly take the deck off, there's the pin right there that you can take off and remove it. But it leaves this whole arm dangling here once you do. For something like this, where it's going to be off for a while and I'm going to be operating the machine, that's something I don't want. So I'm going to actually undo the bolt here and take that whole assembly arm right off. And that's just what holds it kind of straight and pulls it along on the machine. And that's the only thing it does. It's not going to do anything at all with the snow blade. So I'm just going to take it right off and leave it attached to the mowing deck. Okay, so now the last thing you want to do is kind of pull off the throttle here, right? So this wire right here is what actually gets it to engage the belts here. So it's what pulls the mechanism tight to get it all started and going. So, how did I get that on there? You turned it right over, didn't you? There we go. So again, it's just a pin, and it's loose there. So I'll put the pin back through it so I don't lose it. And it's just a matter of getting the hook to release up here, which unfortunately is a lot of the times easier said than done. Actually, first what I'm going to do is just get the belt off. Free, but getting this bad boy out is easier said than done a lot of the time. So now this, you have to kind of hook it back up underneath the machine so it doesn't get in the way of anything, because otherwise it is just connected up to the switch up top that engages the mower drive. Let's get that out of the way. Pretty much you just want to hook it up somewhere where it's not going to get in the way, because it's really not going to do anything at this point. You just don't want to drag it in the snow or anything, so that should be good. Then you just drag the deck out of the way and put it aside. Okay, so now I'm going to be putting the chains on the tires. So a couple of things to note, at least with these chains that I got. I just bought them on Amazon. They're ones that fit a various range of tires because I've got a very unique tire size for this. So you got to make sure you know what your tire size is when you get your chains. And you get them from the dealer for very expensive, or you can find something that will fit on Amazon for a lot cheaper. So for your tire size, you need to know the number, which is that bad boy right there. So in these cases, it's a 20 by 8-8, which tells you the width and height of your tire that you need to fit on. Next, you need to know how to put the chain on. So the first and most important thing is the cross chains. There's an open end and a closed side, right? So you want this open end. You don't want these pressed right up against the tire. So these have to be facing away from the tire. Then you also need to know is your connectors. So you'll have two. This one needs to go on the inside or on the vehicle side. And this one will be going on the outside, and you'll be working that to really tighten things up. So that's what you need to know. So a couple other things you might need in this case will be pliers, and they recommend some wire for tying. I'm just going to use some good old zap straps. They should do the job. For once you've got it tightened up, then you can kind of use those to loop through and tighten it into place fairly easily. So that's what I'm going to do. All right. So they say in the instructions to just lay out your chain in a way that it's going to go on the tire properly. And to pick it up in the middle and to drape it over your tire. Easier said than done when the tire is not attached. Kind of got it hooked on the back with the one. So you always want to try to get the same number of links attached if you can. Alright, so it's set on there, but it's not yet tight. And for that I want to roll it forward or backward a little bit. But first I'm going to get the one on the other side. So now we've got to tighten this in. And according to the images, it should end up going from where we're at to something like that, right there. So this is where the pliers come in. So I'm going to see what I can do here to kind of pull this bad boy in like that. Like I said, I've never done this before. I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go. Okay, so now it's on to putting on the snow blade again. So first we've got the brackets already on there from when I had it on last year. So it's just a matter of putting it all back together. So first I've got the push rod mount to put on here, and we just do that by lining up like so, and then getting these pins in here. And locking them in place. When I took it off, I put all the pins in their spots with their their clevis pins and everything, just so they don't lose them. So I gotta take those out. Just get it back together after. Because this is also the assembly that controls the tilt and everything of the blade. So next, it's just a matter of getting the push assembly put in and pinning that in place. So now this part is probably the heaviest bit, so you want to take care when lifting and maneuvering this part, just because the blade is large, metal, and heavy. So take care and watch your back. You've also got a few other things you got to handle, like, the pivot handle and everything as well, because it is attached. So I'm just going to lay that over here out of the way while we get this put on. And it's just a matter of getting that pin in there and locking it in place. Now we get the lift handle put in. I'll move you over so you can see how that goes. So now it's time to connect the lift handle. So this is the handle that controls whether the blade is dropped down for the snow or up for driving around. And it also is how you control the angle. So there's a couple of connections we got to do to get that to work. So first, got to get that in place, and going all the way through. And then there's this pin right here that you've got to just line it up with. And then again, it's another spring clip just to lock it in place. So now the handle's in place, but it's not going to do anything yet. There's still the next linkage we've got to put in. And this is the one that helps with the lift as well as controls the angle. So it's just this bad boy right here. So we lock him in there, and then we've got to see, this is maneuverable. It's just a matter of putting them in there and just getting the pins in to hold them in place. And that's all there is to it. Ta-da! All right, so it's all installed now and ready to go. I've made it as winter ready as I can. So it's just a time now to see if I can get it to run and push some snow. Probably not going to do a ton today. but it is still nice and cold, and the snow here is still nice and fluffy and easy to push around. So I'm hoping this will work a lot better than it did last year. I did get it working at certain points, but yeah, it was a matter of just with the cold and it having trouble starting and sapping up the battery, not running long enough to recharge the battery, as well as not having any chains on the tires and not getting traction whenever there's a lot of snow, made it completely unusable. But I think now with the chains, and I've got a maintenance charger for it, so it will be able to start. I think with all of that put together, it should be useful for at least pushing out paths and clearing out the little bits we need to do when we don't have access to my neighbor's tractor. And and if he's busy and doesn't have time, I mean, he's got his herds and business and everything to take care of, so can't always count on him to be here right away. And I'm not at the point yet where I can do it myself. So, and I also don't want to be using up their gas and their machinery or anything like that. If I might break it or something like that, always worries me. So better to try to make do with what I've got and make it work. So I'm happy with this setup. I'm happy that it came together so quickly. And now let's get it out in the snow. Hey, so here I am on the next day. I got everything up and set up yesterday. But with the cold we're having, the battery it really has trouble keeping charge, and I hadn't plugged it into the maintenance thing when I shifted it over to do all the work. And so it had sat there for probably about a day, and the charge got really low, and it's really hard for it to get started up when it's cold. So just for instance, yesterday we were sitting at about minus 13 Celsius yesterday. It's minus 17 Celsius right now. So yeah, we've definitely hit winter and the colder temperatures, which is why I bought the battery charger and maintainer, which you can see on there plugged in right now. Now one thing I did find is yesterday, when it wasn't getting it to turn over, I'd left it charging for a while and sat down and started it up, and it started up fine. The problem is it was still plugged in, and these tractors, this is a John Deere E100, they have a kill switch on the seat, so that you can't get up off it with it still running, which is fine. It's a safety feature and it's there for a reason. But there's also, there's good reasons like this where, in a place like this where you want to start it up and let it run and warm up in these cold temperatures so that it actually works well. You don't want to sit there in a garage for, 10 minutes while it's sitting there idling when there's something else you can be doing. So what I was going to do is see if I can't just figure out a way to bypass that switch. Again, they have it on there for a reason. I don't necessarily recommend doing it, but it's a unit that is not likely to run away on its own. Once you take your foot off the gas, it stops. It's a hydrostatic transmission, I believe. So it's not likely to go anywhere if you don't have your foot on the gas, even if it's in gear. But as long as you take proper care. It's also a thing that, we've got we've got some fairly steep hills and stuff on the property where we do like to mow at some point during the year. And you get to a point where you're on it and you're kind of tipping off and it starts to sputter because the switch starts to let go. So, it's a thing that will make it run better overall for us, I think, if I can disable that. Because if I can get it started, if it won't start without being plugged in, then I'll start it with it plugged in and get off it once it's running to disconnect it and just let it warm up. So, yeah, it's just a little switch. So, here, I'll show you where it is and we'll get working on it here. So here we are, the seat lifts up, and this bad boy right there, that's the kill switch. So I'm hoping I can just, remove the seat and figure out a way to depress the switch, whether it's just tape it or just, move it up so that it is contacted so that I can start the thing and not have to worry about it. I don't really want to disconnect anything or bypass any wiring or anything like that. So I'm going to see if I can get that to work, and then I'm going to and if that works, that's great. Otherwise, I've got a couple other tricks that I can try in the wiring just to kind of close the circuit without using the switch. So hopefully I won't go that far because, you know, I mean, I don't know, we're the second owners on this thing. It was included in the sale of the house. So I don't know if it's still under warranty or what. So I'm not really worried too much about voiding that. But I'd rather not mess with it if I don't need to. Especially if in the future we're gonna have, you know, Harrison or somebody running this thing. I'd rather have the kill switch engaged just to avoid accidents. So if I can make it fairly easy to re-engage it rather than, you know, have no break open wiring, then all the better. So let's see if we can do this quickly and easily. Okay, so I've got the seat up, and you can see where the kill switch is. So I'm hoping I'll be able to just pop that out without breaking stuff. And that's it right there. So all I gotta do is tape that down, and it will not be a problem, and it will be easy to reverse. So let's get that going. Okay, so after a little searching around, I think I've got something that'll work, because the wood could have done it, but it was just a little too thin to hold it in place without cracking. So let's go to metal. I think I can get this to work just to hold this thing down. I don't really need to worry about remounting it or anything. You know, it can just sit there loose under the seat if this doesn't fit. It'll just make it easier to undo it should we need to in the future. So actually what I'm going to do is make use of this thing. See if I can't pull that tight, because this is it's actually a pretty good good spring on it, so it's nice and strong. And you don't want to mess around with a safety switch not working, so it's got to have a good good pull to it. Oh, that's pulled flush. That should hold it nicely. And the only thing I have to worry about is if it slides off, but see if I can't. All right, so that I think will do the job. And like I said, it's okay if it just sits under here, because then it's easy to undo it and just pop it right back in. I don't even need to take the thing off. I just took it off to make sure I could get access and see how it was connected on there, because I couldn't quite with it on the bracket. So I'll get this buttoned back up and we'll see if it starts. All right, it's all ready to go. I did end up putting another strap on this just to get a cross on it, because it did flop off while I was putting the seat back on, which was kind of expected. So, but it seems pretty solid now. So let's get on here and give it a go. I'm happy with that. I can start it up in winter while it's connected, get it unplugged, and let it warm up. So we're good to go. Now it's time to see if I can get the plow working. It's all connected. I think I've got it set up right. Let's see if we can push some snow. Well, for a quick little test run, that worked perfectly. That's exactly what we wanted to have happening. Didn't slip at all. So the chains are working. The plow is working. It's not, flipping and anything like that like it was doing when I first tried using it. So yeah, I pushed some snow back and forth. I mean, there's not a lot on the ground right now, but it's moved it, so that's good. So once we get start getting up to a foot or two of snow, I'll be able to hopefully keep on top of it so it doesn't get piled that high in the places that we're using, and keep some open trails here. So I've got work to do today, so thank you for spending your time with me as I got this thing working, and we'll see you next time. All right, have a good one.